welcome back. Episode 11 of Retirement RedZone. We're going to jump right into it today because it's certainly Von Miller time in Buffalo. As you can imagine, last week I talked about risk and volatility, which that's still very pertinent in where we are in the market today. I wanted to kind of talk to you about a little bit of how we have clients take an income in retirement, and maybe how does, when we see these times of volatility, how does that impact what we're doing and having clients take income? So I want to give you a kind of like a 50,000 foot view. Obviously, every client we treat a little bit differently. Everybody has a little bit, different of a situation. There's no cookie cutter approach, but this is kind of the template that we start with. And then it's different for every client. So I'm gonna share my screen here. A couple of things that we'll look at off the bat that are separate of the assets are, do you have a pension? Do you have, what kind of Social Security are we looking at? Are you part of a couple? Are you single? What decisions are you going to make? On Social Security? Looking at your lump sum of assets that you saved for retirement. How do we generate a predictable, sustainable income over your lifetime? That's the whole goal, is how do we create that income for you? So if you've been a client of mine or Elizabeth's for any length of time and you're getting close to retirement or you're in retirement, you've heard us talk about buckets before. So when we talk about buckets, we're talking about how we're allocating those assets that you've saved so we can create that predictable, sustainable income over your lifetime. So looking at the buckets, bucket one, as you see on your screen here, is, we kind of look at it as a pillar here, is this lifetime income. Now, again, I know I kind of already alluded to this before. We don't use every bucket for every client. Everybody's a little bit different, but I want to talk about all of them. So lifetime income, this is a bucket where basically we can recreate a pension through different tools that we have. And for some clients that makes sense, and some clients it doesn't make sense. So this is something that we can create a pension type vehicle, or we can have a pension type vehicle give you income for as long as you may live. So, as far as times of volatility, that kind of just is what it is. And that's going to keep pumping you out income, which in times like this, where you see volatility in the market, can put some people's mind at ease when they own something like that. Looking at the following bucket to the right there, this is kind of your first bucket that is invested in the market. Then that is the money that you're going to use for the first 7 years of retirement, the way that we bucket this out. So as you can imagine, this is going to be your most conservative bucket. We don't want to be on the roller coaster in this bucket. We don't ever want to see this, we don't want to see a 10% decline here, because you're actively taking money out of this bucket when you get to retirement. So when we talk about, and I know that Elizabeth and I have talked about this with people before about what are the goals for this type of an account. Well, this first bucket here that you're going to use for the first 7 years, we're earmarking that, or we want the goal of that bucket to return you a net 2%, because we don't want to take on the risk to get you any more return in that bucket. So moving on to bucket two, that's the assets that you're going to use from years 8 to 15 in retirement. That bucket we can take a little bit more risk on, because as you can imagine, from day one of retirement, you're not going to be using that money for 7 or 8 years. You're not going to touch anything. So we can have that go through a few market cycles. Now, again, we're not shooting for the stars and the moon here. In this bucket, the goal of this account is to return 4% per year net of fees. If you look at the following bucket, that's years 15 plus, that's where we're able to take the most risk, is because that bucket, you're not going to use any of these assets for at least 15 years. So as you look at these three middle buckets here, how it works is the money that you're spending in retirement is always going to be out of that bucket one, because it's like a waterfall effect. So as you get to year 7, we're chopping off part or all of bucket 2 and moving into that conservative bucket. So it's been able to grow for 7 or 8 years, and then we're able to take, kind of put the brakes on it. Same thing for bucket 3. the bucket we're not going to use for 15 years, we're able to chop part of that off and put it into that intermediate bucket. So you've always got money bucketed out for the future, but the money that you're actively spending is either coming out of lifetime income, which we talked about, or bucket one there, where we're taking on the least amount of risk. Now, the other pillar that you see all the way to the right is, we've called it a couple of different things. Our alternative income bucket. It's really our dividend only bucket. Well, we're not taking any principal. We're just taking dividends from that account. And again, some people may have this and some people don't. It doesn't fit into everybody's plan. But again, it's something that in times of volatility, yes, that your how many assets you have inside of there may fluctuate, but at the same time, the amount of dividends that are paid out are based on how many shares that you own. So even you've seen the volatility in the market, that doesn't necessarily affect the dividend that you're getting paid out. So that's another reason that we use that. So we can use all of these for clients. We don't have to use all of these for clients. It really, again, depends on your individual situation. So I'll kind of answer my own question I stated at the beginning. In times of this volatility, are we changing our process? Are we changing what we do as far as taking income? And the answer is no, because when we're building these plans, we're building these to sustain periods of volatility inside of this too. So we want to make sure that we're using what we can to have guardrails to make sure that we're making sure that you don't have any catastrophic losses when you get to retirement. And that kind of goes back to the video that I made last time as far as tactical investing, which go back and feel free to watch that. But I just wanted to hop on here and kind of give a 50,000 foot view of how we take income and talk about, in times of this volatility, does that change what we're doing? And again, the answer is no. So if you do have more questions on this, please feel free to set an appointment with me. Always, feel free to reach out to Barbara and Akia as well. They're a huge part of, me and Elizabeth and our team. So please do that. Please subscribe to our channel, share our videos with your friends. And as always, go Bills.